I've got a video here for you about imagery. Question I want you to have in your mind: how can I analyze and evaluate imagery in poetry? Let's take some notes. A reminder that we have spent some time with the first lesson looking at setting, characters, action, and ideas. And so this was the one piece that we missed, right? And we're going to skip it and come back to it. Okay, now it's time to come back to it. Style. So that is what imagery fits under. Style, what's interesting about the words and the way they're arranged. So let's talk imagery. What is it exactly, and what is detail as well? So imagery is the verbal representation of sensory experience. And in literature, all five senses may be represented. We've got sight, hearing, touch, smell, taste. These are the fancy literary versions. Visual imagery, we say. Auditory imagery. I used to always think that this was contradictory, right? If it's imagery, how can it be auditory? But it's a thing. It's a detail that creates a sound for the reader. Touch is tactile imagery, smell, olfactory imagery, and taste is gustatory imagery. You don't have to know these, but boy, you'd sound smart if you did. All right, detail is any small particular feature of the poem that contributes to its meaning. And so sometimes we have details that connect to images, but they're not actually creating imagery. So then we can call it a detail. All right, how do you analyze imagery? First of all, ask yourself these questions. What senses does the imagery appeal to and how? What is literally being described? If there is comparative imagery, if one thing's being compared to something else, what is being compared to what? What is interesting about the use of imagery? And then this one is really important. What are some similarities and differences between the different images? What connections are there? How do the patterns work together? So you're looking for images and details that connect in some way, and you want to find that pattern and figure out how it works, and then how multiple patterns work together. You're going to make non-debatable claims here, so we're still in these non-debatable claims when we analyze, right? So we're looking for the things that cannot be debated, the things that are not interpreted, but that are true. Okay, when you move to evaluation, we move a little bit away from that. The questions you're going to ask here is, what effects are created by the individual images? What does each image make you think of? What does it make you feel? What effects are created by the pattern? So you found how individual images and details connect together as a pattern, and now you're thinking, okay, what is the effect of all of them together? And do they progress? Do they change? Do they evolve? How do they work over the course of the poem? What seems to be the key repeating factor of certain images? What are the effects of the order of the images? And what are the effects of the comparisons made in the comparative images? So those are great questions to ask about evaluation. And at this point, you can make debatable claims. Of course, whenever you make a debatable claim, you have to support that claim with the text. So it's not just yes, right? And so make debatable claims about the effects, being prepared to support and explain them. And then we finally move into interpretation. You're going to ask yourself, what is the theme or topic in the guiding question? So these are guided literary essays we're writing. The guidance comes from a question. Every poem will have a question. And so look for the theme or topic in the guiding question and think about, okay, how do these details, do these images connect to that topic? How does the imagery connect to the guiding question? What interesting aspects do you notice about the imagery in the guiding question without reaching too far? You always have to be able to go back and support it with the non-debatable, true aspects of the poem. And of course, you are going to make debatable claims here and be prepared to support, explain them. They're the best if they include aspects of the guiding question. So let's take a look at an example. This is Transcendental Love Song. Let's see if I can make it a little bit easier for you to read. Okay, so this is, this is in your packet. So take a look in your packet as I read along in case it's hard for you to see this version of it. The title is Transcendental Love Song. This love dares not speak its name in some states until your eyes say it on a beach in Fort Lauderdale. Staring into mine and the cosmos spins out of my iris, y nos nubla y nos vuela into the postulated sky of matted matter and sparkling light, safely in a haze of shadows and shine, away from the marches against our marriages and the congressional bills against our histories being taught. I cannot say how much I love you in Brickell or Tampa, but I can look back at you painting perfectly 1,000 ways for me to say, be mine. Don't you see? This is not a barren love. Ours is a lust like hydrogen or helium. Once we have each other, we need not be named to be elemental, to be beyond city or state. We need not be named to be animal, raw, and rocket shipped, shooting through the universe with the engine's torque pulling us even closer together than skin to skin could ever describe. Okay, so I have a translation here of y nos nubla, y nos vuela, and clouds us and blows us away. And then we also have the guiding question, which is, how is imagery and detail used in this poem to show the power of love? So when I said to look for imagery and detail that connects to the topic in the guiding question, I'm talking about the power of love. That's the topic in this guiding question. All right, so in the student sample of a guided literary analysis in your packet, the student looked at really 3 main patterns of imagery and detail that connected to this power of love. And the first one they noticed had to do with speaking through eye contact. And so eyes was really the key here. So dares not speak its name until your eyes say it, staring into mine. I cannot say how much I love you. I can look back at you painting perfectly 1,000 ways for me to say be mine, need not be named. And so all of these have to do with speaking through eye contact rather than using a voice. Okay, and so after finding, this pattern, the student then went on to use the imagery questions that are also in your packet in this lesson and looked at the individual images on their own, but then started connecting them to each other as well by answering the questions to see how they work as a pattern. Something else they noticed was imagery and detail having to do with the cosmos. I think they talk about it as celestial imagery, which is a lovely term. And so we've got the cosmos spins, the postulated sky of matted matter and sparkling light, away from the marches. So that one is sort of a contrast, right? The marches are on Earth. They're talking about moving away from the marches. Rocket shipped, shooting through the universe. So here's a second pattern that they notice of imagery and detail, this time having to do with celestial imagery. The third that they noticed is the connection, oh, excuse me, it's not, I mean to say a simile. Ours is a lust like hydrogen or helium. And so they talk about this being a simile, and then it continues on. So the pattern here of imagery and detail is connected to the elements, hydrogen or helium, elemental, animal, raw. And so they look at they look closely at these three aspects, how they connect, and how they work together to create meaning. So read the sample guided literary analysis on transcendental love poem to see how they dealt with all of these patterns. And then take a look at the next poem, which is Flounder. And Flounder is the one we're going to do an activity on in class. And so for that one, I really would like you to find at least 3 specific details. Excuse me, I wanted to say 3 evocative images or connecting details, and spend some time and energy with them as you answer the questions that follow in 5.2, Step 2, the imagery questions. Thanks.